You ever watch a good cartoon and get really into it, only for it to end after 2 seasons? Why does this keep on happening?
Stretch so fantastic, super elastic. Stretch saving the world when times are drastic. Stretch
Stretch Armstrong and the Flex Fidos is very fascinating. In the 1980s, it seems like every toy made for kids was getting its own animated series. Nowadays, though, whenever a series based on a toy is announced, there's always people who assume it's gonna be a dumb show with no effort put into it, made to make a quick buck. Despite the Lego movies, for example, proving that isn't always the case. And so, when Stretch Armstrong and the Flex Fidos came out in 2017, a Netflix animated series based on an old kid's toy, Stretch Armstrong, an overwhelming amount of people just assumed it was bad, and it lasted for only 2 seasons. But I'm here to tell you that isn't exactly the case. In fact, I think it's a really good cartoon. The series has a sick overarching story, which is something I always love when done well. And both seasons have plot twists that significantly change the entire series. So, to avoid spoiling anything, I divided this video up in multiple segments. I'm gonna talk about Season 1 with no spoilers, then give a warning and talk about the plot twist in Season 1, and I'll do the same thing with Season 2. Fun fact about the series, it was worked on by some of the same people who were behind The Spectacular Spider-Man, which I think shows in the quality of the series. And they also got Scott Menville, the guy who voiced Robin in the original Teen Titans series, to play the lead star in the series, Jake, aka Stretch. So the series takes place in a futuristic society, Chowder City. It's a place operated by a massive company, Rook Unlimited, which creates all the new technology people use, and also has pretty much a police presence, keeping the city safe by stopping criminals. Episode 1 of the series introduces Ricardo, a new kid to the Academy for Future Leadership, a school funded by the CEO of Rook Unlimited. Ricardo becomes friends with Nathan and Jake Armstrong, who have been friends for years, and they end up accidentally trespassing into a Rook Unlimited building, where they are exposed to a substance called Flexarium, which gives each of them superpowers. Jake gets the ability to stretch his limbs to unimaginable lengths, Nathan the ability to fly, and Ricardo super strength. Flexarium is an unpredictable substance though, and exposure to it transforms some other guy into a giant creature who then attacks the city and almost kills Jonathan Rook, the CEO of Rook Unlimited, until Jake, Ricardo, and Nathan save him. This makes Rook hire them to be the official superheroes of the city, giving them high-tech superhero costumes, and they become the Flex Fighters. Jake becomes Stretch, Nathan Wingspan, Ricardo Omnimass. Season 1 is basically about them being a group of corporate-sponsored superheroes. But in Season 2, however, they end up on their own, for reasons I will talk about later in this video. Jonathan Rook is depicted as being like Elon Musk, if Elon Musk was likable. He's super nice, and is always there to help out the Flex Fighters in whatever way he can, with his highly advanced technology. Someone who isn't super nice though, is Kane, Rook's second in command, who can't believe he's wasting his time with a bunch of teenagers. Interestingly, we find out in Season 1 that Kane has a gang background, before getting a job at Rook Unlimited. The city the show takes place in is really interesting. There's a portion of the city known as Old Town. It's described as being how the rest of the city used to look like before Jonathan's company sent it way into the future, and it's pretty much abandoned. There's something creepy and kind of unsettling about the existence of Old Town. Each of the 3 members of the Flex Fighters have uniquely defining characteristics. The series takes time to develop each of them. Nathan is a socially awkward kid. Ricardo can seem pretty unlikable at times and tries not to make any serious connections with people because his family is always moving due to business trips, which causes him to be afraid that he'll always disappoint people. And Jake is always keeping himself busy with tons of extra academic activities to make his father proud, because ever since Jake's mother died, his father has become like a dictator. But Jake doesn't fight against his controlling behaviors because he knows it's his father's way of coping with the loss of his wife. It's a pretty realistic depiction of how a family might be affected by such a tragedy. And being a show about a kid's toy, the series didn't have to tackle this idea, but it did. Much of season 1 focuses on the mystery surrounding a character named Dr. C, who was a co-founder of Rook Unlimited, and supposedly died in a plane crash. But the Flex Fighters find out she's still alive, and now she's a villain, who Jonathan has them fight against. There's a character known as the Stretch Monster, who has been secretly making people become supervillains. And there's a ninja working for Dr. C, who battles against the Flex Fighters throughout the season, whose name is Blind Strike. And then the final episode of the season happens, and so there was a massive plot twist, which completely changes how you view the entire season you just watched. When I was watching the series again for this video, it seemed obvious in retrospect, but the first time I saw that ending, I was very shocked. The only criticism I have about season 1 is that the animation doesn't look very good. I have a feeling the budget wasn't very high, but everything else about season 1 is amazing. Okay, now I'm gonna spoil the ending of season 1 and talk about the impact of it throughout my review of season 2. So if you haven't seen season 1 all the way until the final episode of it, I really recommend you do so before hearing what I have to say about how it ends. And to avoid spoilers, skip to this moment in this video. Okay. Now, in the final episode of season 1, we find out Jonathan Rook is the Stretch Monster, and he isn't the good guy we thought he was. His company feels like a dystopian controlling entity of the city, because it is, and he was using the Flex Fighters to collect data that he can use to make an army of Flexarium super soldiers. Blind Strike is actually someone named Raya, who Jake has a crush on at his high school. Dr. C and Blind Strike are actually the good guys, trying to free the city from Jonathan's control. And as a corporate-funded superhero team, the Flex Fighters were on the bad guys team, enforcing Jonathan's power over the city throughout the entire season. And now that they know what's actually going on, Jonathan Rook is officially telling everyone in the city that the Flex Fighters attacked him and have become bad guys. What a way to end the season. And may I say, the tension in the scene where Jonathan reveals himself to be the villain was done so well. As a person who also enjoys writing plot twists in my stories, I would be so upset if the show ended after just one season, and we didn't get to see some of the aftermath of that ending. Season 2 is about the Flex Fighters being full-on vigilantes, wanted by the police, and in a city where most people think they are a team of bad guys. I think that's a setup that makes for more engaging superhero stories, and Season 2 is absolutely my favorite season of the 2. Speaking of favorites, the second episode of Season 2 is one of my favorite episodes of the whole series. There was a section of the episode that you assume is exactly how it seems, and I'm not gonna spoil it, but once the big plot twist of the episode comes along, you become like, oh, it completely comes out of nowhere, but it makes a lot of sense because it was previously set up in the story, and it's perfect. Also, despite the series usually having not amazing looking animation, there's one scene in this episode where the visuals become so trippy and it becomes pretty cool. The animation does actually get kinda better as the series progresses, especially in season 2, but it still isn't the best part of the show. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about the plot twist at the end of season 2, which is also a pretty big deal. So really, watch season 2 before you continue listening to this part of the video, and skip to this part of the video if you just wanna skip the spoilers and just hear my overall thoughts of the series as a whole. Or just continue watching if you don't care about spoilers, but I really don't recommend you doing that. So, in the last few episodes of season 2, the Techmen take over Rook Unlimited, and Kane is revealed to be the one in charge of all the Techmen, and he betrays Rook. The Techmen are revealed to actually be a secret society called the Epsilon Society, which rivaled Jonathan Rook all the way back when Rook was starting his company. The Epsilon Society takes full control of Shadow City and has everyone get the Smout Mouth, which is a type of technology that that becomes part of people's arms. And people who get the Smart Mark can use it to do anything. Take videos, pay for groceries, etc. Sounds like such an amazing deal, correct? No, actually, because it turns out, despite looking super promising for the entirety of civilization, the Smart Mark is actually how the Epsilon Society is able to fully take control of the people in Charter City. The Epsilon Society uses the Smart Mark to control people's thoughts, the entire way everyone who took the Smart Mark's brain functions, and they use it to make everyone in the city become obedient, mindless drones. It's a very dystopian take on potentially revolutionary, futuristic technology that we know is already in some way being worked on. It then becomes up to the Flex Fighters to team up with Jonathan Rook to take down the people in charge of his company now who are misusing the technology. And it's a really, really great season finale. And then that ending, man, talk about cliffhangers. Like seriously, bruh, the series just can't end on a good note, can it? So, in conclusion, despite a lot of people not really paying attention to it when it came out, I really do think that Stretch Armstrong and the Flex Fighters is a very underrated and amazing animated superhero show. And if you like shows like Teen Titans or Spectacular Spider-Man, I think you'd genuinely be surprised at how good the show actually is. It is a crime that the show didn't get a season 3, but maybe if enough people watch it. Nah, I'm just kidding. Probably wouldn't happen. But still, if you haven't already, give Stretch Armstrong and the Flex Fighters a chance. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. If you don't, I will flex all over you. Anyways though, that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Let me know what you think of Stretch Armstrong and the Flex Fighters if you've watched the series. And I mean like the entire series, not just the first episode or two. That doesn't really count. And thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, feel free to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.
Let's go.